Hello, thank you all for joining us today for Talent Trust July 2020 Executive Briefing, How to Maximize Human Capital for Recovery and Growth. If you run into technical difficulties during our briefing today, please contact Susan Henry on the Talent Trust team. Her contact information will be in the chat box. We will also use the chat feature, which is at the bottom of your screen, to collect questions throughout the briefing today. So I encourage you to input your questions there, and Kathleen will address all of those at the end, should we have time. We will have time for Q&A, and we'll make sure we get to as many of those as we possibly can in our time today. Today's briefing is presented by Kathleen Quinn Votaw, founder and CEO of Talent Trust and author of Solve the People Puzzle. Kathleen is also an experienced keynote speaker, and through the pandemic, she's continued to share her message with business leaders. Put your people first, everything else will follow. Kathleen founded Talent Trust nearly 17 years ago in an effort to shake up the recruitment industry and teach companies of all sizes how to truly win the war for talent. In today's briefing, Kathleen will outline how to effectively retain and engage your human capital for recovery and virtually. It's my pleasure to introduce Kathleen Quinn Votaw.
Thank you, Erin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Jumanji, as I call this lovely environment we've been hanging out in for the last 20 weeks. And yes, it's been 20 weeks. Can you believe it, that we've entered this new reality? Well, it is day 2 for me back from my vacation, and I am very excited to talk to you this morning about this executive briefing and how to retain and engage your people during these really interesting times. I'm going to go off video so I can share the content, then I'll pop back on when we do Q&A. I'm going to present some content for about, I'd say 20-ish minutes, and then Erin's going to jump back on and manage the Q&A with us. So let's jump into the data and enjoy, take notes. Really, please ask your questions in chat, because this is your time, not my time. So one thing I know for sure is if they don't fit you, they're gonna quit you, even now. Isn't that remarkable to think about? The last 20 weeks, we as business owners, business leaders, whatever your position is in your company, we have been working really hard to retain our people. And even if we've had to let them go, we've been really respectful. I've talked to many business owners throughout the country, but we are finding with some of our clients, some of our prospective clients, some of our community members throughout the country that they're shocked that people are quitting during this time. Because don't be surprised that even though there's 30+ million people unemployed, there's still a skills gap out there. There's still an issue of trust and transparency. So that's what I want to focus on today. I want to focus on giving you the tools, real resources on how to retain and engage your employees virtually during these critical times. Because if they don't fit you, they're going to quit you, whether it's during these times or other times. So I'm a big fan as a speaker to give you some tools on where to start, because I don't like leaving a speaking engagement with people not having good tools. So the first tool I want to gift to you, and that's gift, G-I-F-T, to you, is a Talent Trust Talent and Culture Quiz. We developed this quiz because as I started speaking to people all over the country and in some other countries as well, it became clear to me that they needed a tool to assess 9 different factors in their organization to build a really strong company, strong culture, strong engagement, and exceptional recruitment strategies. So this tool is free, and I repeat, free, F-R-E-E, to all of you and anyone in your company. So how do you use it? The first thing you do is you click on the link that's showed here. It's talenttrust.com/quiz, pretty easy. And it helps you identify the root causes that are interrelated behind your organization's human capital challenges. And it's never any one thing, it's everything. When I speak to audiences, I invite them to use this prior to me coming in so I can dig into the areas where they're having the most trouble or the most challenges, and then develop the tools and tactics specifically to address those. So the 9 factors that we focus on for you are strategic recruitment, assessments, your culture, your selection strategies. Are you paying people enough? Are you developing your people? Do people even know who you are? Do you have a brand that matters? Do you know how once you hire them, how to effectively onboard them and make them feel welcome? Onboarding is a fancy word for making people feel welcome. And do you have the systems and processes to enable your hiring managers, your human capital people, your leaders to do this very well? So I invite you all to go on talenttrust.com, take the quiz. It's all over the website. It's free to you and everyone in your company. So that's the first tool on how to retain, and engage your people virtually, and it's free to you. The second one I want to invite you to think about is the Q12 from Gallup. And if you're not going to believe me, Kathleen Quinn Votaw from Talent Trust, you might listen to Gallup. Some of you might know of the Q12, some of you might not know about the Q12, but the Q12 are the 12 questions that Gallup suggests you should know about every single employee that works for you. And I bet some of you don't know these answers. They're asked in confidence, and you gather the information on a qualitative and quantitative feedback system. You can go directly to Gallup and do this with a certified Gallup instructor. You can do this on your own, and you can Google these 12 questions, or dare I say you take a picture of the screen, and I'm gifting this to you as well. So some of the questions I love the most. Number 4, in the last week, have you received as an employee recognition or praise for your contributions? And you know, that particular question happens to align with why people quit you. The number one reason people are quitting companies right now is because they're not getting enough recognition or praise or appreciation, which is, I believe, criminal, because it's an easy, free thing to give. So wouldn't it be nice to know if your hiring managers are really giving people enough recognition and praise? And be careful about this. Not all recognition and praise is created equal. Not everyone wants to be center stage and applauded. Some people want privacy and a note from home. Erin, I think you want to chime in to say something. Go right ahead.
Yeah, appreciation is the number one thing as a leader and as an employee that is important to me, and I have found to be very, very valuable for my team. I also wanted to mention that we will be sending this deck to everybody who is here today, so you will have access to this slide and all of these questions for your use as a thank you for being here today too.
Thank you, Erin. She keeps me honest. And the next question that I love is, do you have a best friend at work? That's number 10 on the Q12 from Gallup. Most people, when I'm speaking in person, they roll their eyes, or they internally have a thought bubble that says, well, who really cares? This question isn't really about a best friend, my friends. This is about building community. And when you build community, you can do great things. And in the last question from the Gallup Q12 is, has your manager talked to you about your progress in the last 6 months? Unfortunately, the psyche right now in the last 20 weeks is, I'm not going to talk to anybody about their progress because I don't know what the future holds. So if you're having trouble retaining and engaging people virtually, is the critical conversation about how you feeling, what are you doing, what do you want to do next, happening in your organization, even though we're in unpredictable times and uncharted waters? Remind your hiring managers, if you take one thing away from this executive briefing this morning, have that conversation, because your people matter. Put them first and great things will happen. The next thing I want to talk to you about is the Net Promoter Score. Many of you know about the Net Promoter Score from a customer perspective, but you're not necessarily as familiar with it from an employee perspective. And the Net Promoter Score is a question at the bottom of the slide that says, how likely are you to recommend a friend or colleague to work for your company? And notice it's answered on a scale of 0 to 10. And the next question you ask is why? So you get qualitative and quantitative information again. Wouldn't you as employers want to know the people you're paying, the people you're leading, the people you're investing in, who are detractors and who are promoters? Now again, this is captured in confidence, so you're not on a witch hunt, but you can get percentages of where people fall in your organization. And the first step in any good process is knowing where to begin. So if your company has more promoters than detractors, congratulations. That's something to celebrate and use in your promotion of your brand and your recruitment and in your sales messaging. If, unfortunately, your company has more detractors, you can actually slice and dice this by department, and you might have a departmental issue or miscommunication. These things can be overcome. Sometimes we have detractors because people have a situation in their life that you don't have any control over. So measuring it every quarter and looking at your trends over time is where the key data comes from, because just one moment in time does not reflect everything you've built. I have a company that I built over 17 years. I've been using this tool for the past 6 years. I can go back every quarter based on what's going on in the universe, what's going on in our company, what companies have come and gone, what employees have come and gone, and I can see where our Net Promoter Score lands. And there's factors that impact this beyond your control, but at least I'm measuring what matters, my people and their engagement. Now this tool is available to you for, I think it's $78 a month through SurveyMonkey. You can do it very low cost. So write that down, SurveyMonkey, $78 a month. If you want to start somewhere, it's a great place to start on how to retain and engage your people virtually. And the last tool I want to show to you today is the one I love the most. It automates this for you. It's called Tiny Pulse. Tiny Pulse automates all of this critical conversation, gathering data, getting into the nitty-gritty with your employees, as I call it. And it's a great tool. It's not a no-cost tool, it's a low-cost tool. But it helps keep your finger on the pulse of the company. What's happening? What's the cadence? You can do it weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever you decide for you and your company. You also collect all this information confidentially. So it really protects the users to give good data. And I want to spend a moment on this. When you start into these critical conversations, I call them employee intimate conversations. They're not going to trust you at first. Just know that. But the more you keep coming back to them and asking these critical questions and demonstrating that you care to know the answers, they're going to start trusting you, because people continuity really starts with transparency and trust. And the fact that you're asking means you actually want to know. You can't get 100% engagement. Don't try. Please don't even try. But at least you asked. You demonstrated that you care. It will help you build a very positive culture, not from just you, but from the peers that work with each other in the organization. So building a positive culture is wonderful, and it's hard to do. And it's not just your job, it's everyone's job. So I really enjoy the Cheers for Peers section quite a bit. And we use this in our organization, but we've also helped hundreds of companies embed this into their organization as well. Last but not least, you're going to see trends over time, and that's what I talked about from the trend reporting. That's really important for you to see the trends over time at minimum on a quarterly basis. Erin's joined again via video. Erin, what would you like to add to the conversation?
Yeah, I wanted to echo you on a couple of points. We have used Tiny Pulse for 4 years now internally, and it's been valuable to me as a member of the team, but also as a leader of the team. To tie Tiny Pulse back to what you were speaking about a minute ago, Kathleen, the eNet Promoter Score, right? We use that eNet Promoter as one of our Tiny Pulse questions quarterly. So then we as a leadership team on our dashboard have our eNet Promoter Score for that quarter. So in addition to all the other numbers and metrics we use to manage our business, that's a key metric as it relates to the health of our team, the health of our culture, and their happiness, retention, and engagement with what we're doing and where we're going. As Kathleen mentioned, a number of our clients have installed Tiny Pulse per our recommendation because they didn't have a tool that allowed them to understand the current state at any minute of their team. So we've been able to do that for them, and it's been valuable, and any of them can talk to you about that. But having an opportunity to ask the question, whether it's through SurveyMonkey or through Tiny Pulse, is key. It's a key tool for your leadership teams.
Great. Thank you, Erin. I appreciate it. So the tools, just to recap, is the Talent Trust quiz that's free to you, the Q12 from Gallup, the eNet Promoter Score, and Tiny Pulse. And before we jump into Q&A, I wanted to share with you, I received one of the greatest gifts I could ever receive from my employees in June. They wrote me a love letter based on how they feel about our company, our culture, thank you, and everything that we've built here. I invite you to go to our website at talenttrust.com to read the love letter, not because I want to promote myself, but I believe it's from their voice, my employees' voice, a great tool for you to build a path to retaining and engaging your people virtually in good times and bad times. And listen to them. They have the answers, and that is the key to my success and to some of our clients' success. And I'm happy to share more with you. So Erin's going to run Q&A. We see a lot of activity in the chat. Very exciting, Erin. So I want to make sure we spend the last couple of minutes on your Q&A, because this is, again, your meeting, not my meeting.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you for outlining those tools. Yes, we did as a team write a love letter to Kathleen last month. We felt compelled. You know, she spends a lot of her time talking to business leaders about how to put your people first. And in this difficult time of pandemic and our road to recovery, we all just felt she was walking the talk and had to put it on paper. So we embarrassed her thoroughly and made her cry. It was very fun. Exactly. So let's go to the questions here in the chat. Thank you, everybody, for participating and adding those here. Here's the first question, Kathleen. What do you see to be the most common mistake that managers are making in terms of their people during these challenging times?
What I see the last 20 weeks, what I've seen people grapple with the most, Erin, and even before these 20 weeks, is transparency. Transparency equals trust. And transparency is hard for us as business owners and leaders to do often and regularly. And let me give you some examples of transparency. Tell your employees what's going on. Tell them what's happening fiscally, because one of the rising reasons people are leaving organizations is they're worried about the financial stability and viability of the organization. And in the absence of information, people make up their own stories and decide, holy moly, we're going south and I want to ride another bus. And then their family's impacted. So the more information you can give your people, the better it's going to be for you to retain and engage them virtually and in person, you know, during this time and not during this time. So I really believe that transparency, we all grapple with it. How much is too much? How little is too little? What should I show my financials? Should I be open book? Shouldn't I be open book? Do I talk about the PPP? Yes, talk about all of it. to the degree you're comfortable. It has to be really authentically transparent. It can't be fake transparent. So that's what I see. And thank you for that question. It's really important.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Good, really good. And you have been very transparent with our team, as we all know. Here's another one. Kathleen, what might you suggest for companies who, before the COVID crisis, did not have a lot of experience working virtually, but now realize they have to rely on this virtual environment for a lot longer than they initially expected? Mm-hmm. What would you suggest to those organizations?
Yeah, that has happened. Thank you for that question. We got like slammed into work from home, right? Working virtually. Now, the good news is Talent Trust has been doing this for all of our years. It's been great. You know, we have a lot of experience. So I offered to the person who asked the question to chat with us offline. We'd be happy to answer your specific questions. But universally, for the whole audience, what's really important is to put some guidelines in place. I talked to one of our clients in Ohio, and when we first got slammed into the virtual reality, he was so mad at his sales team because his salesperson took a call from him while he was walking the dog. So the owner was just horrified that anybody would do that. But what ended up happening is there's a certain set of expectations we have as owners, founders, leaders. And then there's a certain way of behaving and expectations people have as employees. What we as the leaders have to do is define how people have to show up in this new virtual reality. So here's your expectations, and here's the behaviors that mirror those expectations. So let me give you a really easy example. So we work virtually and remote with all of our clients, and it is an expectation of the organization that you show up professionally via video. There's no athletic gear for ladies. There's no, gym shorts for guys. There's no baseball hats. We're not going to do that. We are going to be ready for work, and we are going to go to work virtually. So what that means, we have to actually say no baseball hats, no athletic gear. You're going to show up ready to work in a physical environment. And that level of detail is really important. We're going to be in this virtual reality for the next 12 to 18 months, if not the rest of our work lives, because some people don't feel safe to go back to work. People have enjoyed having more balance because they can juggle the kids and the wife and the dog and the goldfish a lot more easier, the significant other. They can be more fit. They can make more healthy food. So there's so many different reasons people are choosing to work from home. And now we as employers have to figure out how to accommodate, but it's really important to set up those expectations because people can't read your mind. You have to tell them what you expect, and that will help remove some things. And it won't be perfect out of the gate because something will happen and you'll go, I didn't realize that even happened. And you'll have to address things as you grow into this new reality. So great question.
There's a reciprocity too, Kathleen. I mean, because of what we've all experienced this year too, even working from home is different now than it was in 2019, for example. We do have children at home. We have spouses who weren't working side by side with us now working side by side. So the other thing that we've championed internally is compassion, right? And if we as leaders extend that compassion, like, it's okay that your husband is too loud on his conference call next door. It's okay. We can all get over that. Then the team shows up and offers their same level of professionalism in return. So that there's a reciprocity that happens that we've always experienced and that we've put into play even more in this time for us. I don't know if that's helpful at all to the individual who asked the question. Here's another question. We just have a few more minutes left. We like to be tight on time here. We all have busy schedules. This individual says, I've experienced higher turnover in the last few months than I expected that I would. What advice would you give me as I try to quickly rebuild my team?
Mm. Yeah, we have seen that. And it is because people are feeling uncertain and they're scared and they're making fear-based decisions and they don't have the transparency from their organization. Also, on an employer perspective, they feel as though, oh, there's 30 million people out of work. I shouldn't have to sweat it. I shouldn't have to worry about the inventory I might be able to choose from. Couple things to consider. Your employees are looking for other jobs, even though you've protected their job for 20 weeks, even though you went out there on a limb, got the PPP, even though you've tried to accommodate everything because they're scared. They're humans and humans are scared. And it's either fight or flight. That's just a human reality. So talking about that is number one. Number two, you do not have just because there's 30 million people displaced and unemployed doesn't mean that the inventory is there for you. They're still in a ginormous, and I know that's a word my son used when he was little, ginormous, it's like bigger than enormous, it's ginormous, skills gap that, the people who are displaced are in hospitality and B2C. They're not the people necessarily that you might need for your organizations. Now, some of them might be, but they're not going to fill the whole gap for you. So that's another thing. So what can you do? One, work on the pipeline. So I believe you should be pipelining all the time, all the time. And I believe in the last 20 weeks, people have stopped recruiting. They've just stopped. It's like a riptide in the middle of if you've ever been in a riptide, everything just stops. I've been in a riptide. And you can't stop prospecting for new clients, and you can't stop prospecting for new employees because things are going to happen beyond your control that you don't know about. Some of our clients have had some unique situations where somebody had a health issue, unexpected health issue, who's been out or working intermittently for the past 60 days. Then, believe it or not, during the last 20 weeks, there's been performance issues as well. And you don't have to suffer through the mediocrity just because we're in uncertain times. It's your job as a leader to build and secure the strength of your organization. So when we do skyrocket back, and I believe we're going to, you have the best team, on your staff that can serve your clients, serve each other, and a very strong, engaged organization and culture that can take you to the next level. That's your job.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much, Kathleen. Really, really good. There was one more question, but I will follow up with that individual personally on unemployment. I will get to you, I promise. Thank you all for joining us and for your participation today. Kathleen, thank you for sharing all of this. You all will receive follow-up after today's briefing with the recording, the deck, and we also ask you to complete the survey that will pop up in your screen as soon as you exit today. Also mark your calendars for Thursday, August 27th for our next executive briefing. Have a lovely Thursday. Thank you all.